This is a tricky video to make. I'll explain in a minute why it's tricky. But basically, I keep getting asked, what's wrong with Doug Wilson? And for a while, I found that every day, Doug Wilson's name was coming up in conversation. And I was talking with people and I would say things like, yeah, but do you know that he said da 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 da? Like, he's not really a good source to be quoting. And people would be like, did he? Really? I can't believe that. And so I felt like, okay, I now sound like a conspiracy theorist nut, you know, and I was like, so what I'm going to do is I'll just write down things that Doug has said, links to where he said them. And then when my friends say, they start quoting Doug Wilson, I can say, whoa, hang on a minute, you sure you want to be quoting him? And they're like, what's wrong with Doug Wilson? I can then say, all right, read this. Here you can read Doug's own words. And I think the things he says show that he's not really someone we should be quoting or someone we should even be influenced by in any way. And so I made a PDF and gave it to people who asked for it. And then I thought, let me do a video and I will read out things from this PDF so that you in YouTube can see from the horse's own mouth, as it were, you know, what has Doug said and what's the context in which he said it. These are the things that are in the PDF. And then I sat down, got the camera ready, got the PDF open, and I was like, I can't read out this stuff. So this is a tricky video because one, I feel like I can't read out this stuff out loud. And two, it's a tricky video because I don't really want to be making videos saying what's wrong with this person, you know. But because I see so many friends and colleagues of mine who have been influenced by Doug Wilson and are still being influenced by Doug Wilson, I feel like it's my duty to say, well, hold up, especially because I think this has very big implications for how people are treated and particularly how women are treated. So I can't read out bits of this PDF. I'll give you one quote, or I'll give you one quote, yeah. Doug said, now let me tell you what this symbolism really means. Okay, now in the context, he's talking about something with a piece of artwork that was a body part. And he said this, he said, this is what they are saying. They are shamelessly declaring to the world that they are just a couple of C-U-N-T-S. He uses the C word. So when I didn't really know much about Doug Wilson, but when I saw him use that word, I was like, what? Like, what's going on here? And I looked at it in the context and I was like, oh, I see what you did here. You know, there's kind of a play on words sort of here. And then I saw his rebuttal when people said that's out of order, and he was giving his justifications for why he used the C word. And I was just the whole time like, nah, that don't seem right. And I started looking at other stuff he said, stuff that he says about sex. And I'm like, what? Like, you know, that ain't right. And then I looked at stuff he's saying about marriage and I'm like, that ain't right. And stuff he said about slavery. Then I looked into allegations of him plagiarizing in his writing, and I looked it up and I was like, right, yeah, that really looks like plagiarism. And then I looked at the Sittler case in his church, and I was like, okay, there's so much stuff here that surely if people knew this stuff, they would be like, I'm not going to listen to Doug Wilson anymore. And so this is just my appeal here. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't do a video doing a play-by-play things that have been said, because for me, it's just too gross. But in the description, there will be a link to the PDF. So you can look at the PDF yourself. And in it, I've put the links to where Doug Wilson has said these things so that you can go to his own website and see what he said, see the context in which he said it. And so why is this important? This is important because the stuff that Doug Wilson is saying is very unbiblical. The way he's saying it is unbiblical, and actually the way he portrays women is unbiblical. And even his doctrine, when you look at things like his federal vision, you know, I think that's very problematic, even though he's tried to kind of distance himself from that. Now, I realize when you use the term biblical, that's kind of a word that everyone uses, isn't it? Like we all say, well, my view is biblical and someone else's view is unbiblical. But if you look at this PDF, I think you can see quite clearly where I put some Bible verses there to show why I think what he said isn't right. So, you know, you can make your own mind up. But fellas, because it's fellas mainly who are into Doug Wilson, we got to be better at spotting people who say off-key stuff. You know, we've really got to be better at it, because this kind of thing can be very damaging to everyone. It can be damaging to men because it gives us a warped view of what it means to be a man, a warped view of how we should treat women, a very warped view of sex and how we view women, and a warped view of what a Christian marriage is like. But also this kind of culture that comes from this kind of teaching can be very damaging to women. So I'm not just saying, oh, this is bad for men because it messes up how they view things. I'm saying it's bad for women as well. It impacts them in a big way. And so it's just bad stuff. It's bad news. So please check out the PDF, and let's stop quoting Doug Wilson, please. All right. God bless.